Hi, my name is Ed Epperson. I'm 80 years old and I have a disease called Parkinson's disease. And this show is sort of Sunday afternoon with Fast Eddie. So I used to be a doctor and a veterinarian, and now I'm Fast Eddie because I can see pretty girls faster than most anybody. And I guess one of the things I'd like for you to know is that we're talking about a book and a movie called Tuesdays with Maury. So a guy wrote a book that really turned out beautifully, and I read it a long time ago. And I saw the movie last week, Tuesday with Maury, with Jack Lemmon. So this is a conversation about death. And so there are a lot of conversations that have been opened up about transsexual and homosexuality and agriculture and science and so forth. So what we're doing today is just looking at what it would be like to die well rather than being afraid to die. So we don't need to be brave, but I think we need to be real about the fact that our mother dies, our father dies, our dog dies, and we die without having it be a big tragedy. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We have a young man here named Daniel Owens, and he's going to share with me and us our relationship, his picture of our relationship.
So to the best of my recollection, we met around 1993, which is when I moved to Austin. And I think we met at the old Whole Foods down by Brody Oaks. And I was in the coffee shop there just getting a cup of coffee, and I believe you came to my table and just started talking to me like we knew each other. And I don't remember what you said, but it was something unusual. It was sort of like, you know, what do you think about X? And I'm like, what? Like, who is this? Why is he asking me this? And then we just had this great conversation. And I think we exchanged numbers and started talking to each other. And you were actually my first real friend in Austin. I moved here to be with a lover. And so he was a friend, and his friends were my friends, but you were my first friend that I met independently of him. And I feel like I kind of hit the friendship jackpot with getting to know you, because that was something I really needed and treasured at that time. Because I think back then our relationship was a bit more like mentor-mentee, and I was always calling you to talk about my struggles in the relationship, or my struggles with, you know, what my direction in life, or my own issues with my personality and not living up to my expectations. And you were just this great coach who always gave me very honest and insightful feedback, and sort of, but as well as like good active listening. You know, and sort of presenting me with possibilities that hadn't necessarily occurred to me. There was one time that kind of stands out in my memory where a couple of years, I think, into our relationship and my relationship with my partner, he decided our relationship was over and broke up with me. And I was really devastated by that. And just really sad and bawling and wailing and feeling worse than I'd ever felt before. And I called you up, and I think I might have been expecting that you would have given me some tips for how to feel better. But you said something along the lines of that I was doing a great job of feeling bad, and that I should try to feel even worse, and just really sort of milk that experience for all it was worth. I don't think those were your words, but that's my...
That's the way I remember it.
You remember?
I remember it. I think I said, turn the lights down low and play some sad music and just see how
That's
depressed you can get.
Yeah.
Call me back later.
Yeah. Well, that was great advice.
Mm-hmm.
Because doing that freed me, I don't know, it just freed me in some way that I can't quite explain.
Someone who's helped Dan and me a lot is Brad Blanton. And Brad Blanton wrote a book called Radical Honesty. And Fritz Perls was his teacher. So Fritz Perls would say, I'm not in this world to fulfill your expectations. So we live our lives as if there is somebody like our parents or our children or our lover that's in this world to fulfill our expectations. And we often don't even tell them what we're expecting. It's quite common for a woman to say, he didn't get me a Valentine's Day card, and he didn't even know it was Valentine's Day. He didn't even know you were attached to Valentine's.
Right.
So I think this get-together is really valuable for everyone who is considering being selfish and being happy and being healthy by just saying what I think about and what I care about is important to me, and I'm noticing it's not that important to anyone else. It's just it's my thing to be jealous or to be sad or to be whatever, and I need to handle it myself. And that's what I'm doing with Parkinson's disease and my death, is not being happy about it, but just dealing with it, you know. Anything else?
Well, you know, I mean, we've just had so many great conversations over the years, but I've also learned a lot just from being in relationship with you and observing you doing things and going, oh, that's different. I mean, like, you know, that's kind of a different possibility that I hadn't thought of. And one thing that stands out for me for some reason, one time we met for lunch at this kind of nice, I think it was a hotel. I'm thinking Omni, but I'm not sure about the details. But we met in the parking lot, and you were driving this old beat up Toyota Corolla or something at the time. And I think you'd been playing tennis beforehand. And I believe you got out of your car, maybe you did it in your car, but you started changing your clothes there in the parking lot of this nice hotel. You know, you stripped down to your underwear and then put on something else. And it was just like, well, that's different. Like, I mean, I thought it was very cool that you know, like nobody, you know, nobody else I knew your age would have done that.
And you were from San Francisco.
Yeah. And anyway, so that left an impression on me. I know we've been together at Barton Springs on a few occasions, and you know, watching you diving off the board. I still don't dive off the diving board at Barton Springs, but I'm always inspired by watching you dive off the diving board.
Yeah. That's a real funny thing, because I used to be a pretty good diver, and now at 80 with Parkinson's, I just barely fall off the end of the diving board, but I still do it, and it's still fun. Thanks for remembering that. We've had about 35 people come by and do what you're doing, and I was always surprised, really surprised at what people remember and what they think about and how they interpret what we did, and sometimes I have a different interpretation, but it kind of demonstrates that we live in a world of words. We live in a world of memories about things, and we use words to remember changing clothes in a parking lot, as if that's our reality. And it is, and it's fun.
Did you actually do that? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No, I don't remember changing clothes at all. No.
Okay.
I think that if I remembered it, it would have been important to me, but it wasn't important. It was
Yeah,
just a way of getting clothes on.
Right.
Yeah. But I can see where another person observing would go, wow, this is different, you know. We lived on a little farm, about 10 acres, and my dad would take a water hose and wash his body out in the backyard. And there wasn't any neighbors anywhere nearby, but he'd be naked out in the backyard washing himself with a water hose. So I'm sure I just extrapolated things like that and thought, well, no big deal.
Yeah.
I was a veterinarian, so all my patients were naked.
Right.
Oh.